I don't understand why we're here, because you all, for the longest time, as long as I've been alive, and I'm the son of two Republicans, so I've heard this in my household a lot, you're the party of free markets. You believe that Democrats regulate too much, but you've hauled these three here to tell them you don't like how they're investing in the free market?
Democratic superstar Representative Eric Swalwell was bringing the climate change level heat today, and much like the planet, he's been absolutely on fire. He and other Democrats absolutely dismantled the GOP today during their House Judiciary hearing titled Climate Control, Decarbonization Collusion in Environmental, Social, and Governance Investing. You already know it's going to be dumb when the Republicans start talking about collusion.
No collusion, which I knew anyway.
And the sham hearing was supposedly set up to examine whether existing civil and criminal penalties and current antitrust law enforcement efforts are sufficient to deter anti-competitive collusion to promote ESG-related goals in the investment industry. But in this hearing, essentially, Republicans tried to argue that companies and nonprofit organizations represented by the witnesses today that invest in green energy and climate-conscious projects are somehow a climate cartel, hell-bent on shirking antitrust policies and illegally dismantling the poor widow big oil companies that totally aren't lining the pockets of Republicans. And the entire concept of this hearing is laughable, or at least it would be if Republicans weren't wasting so much time and taxpayer money on it. All to do what exactly? Well, deny climate science, demonize climate-conscious investors rather than the polluters destroying our planet, and just like the justice system they claim to stand for, rail against the regular implementation of the free market. So with that context of today's blend of Republican hypocrisy out of the way, let's dive into Democrats absolutely destroying them.
Gentleman from California is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Trying to understand why we are here. Ms. Slubber, do you make money for the people who work with you? Are you helping them make money, a return on their investment?
Indirectly. We certainly do an analysis of financial risks of climate change.
Ms. Lamb, do you help the people that are your clients make money?
Absolutely.
Mr. Bienvenu, do you help the people who are in your pension fund make money?
Absolutely.
So as I mentioned earlier, all these witnesses are climate investors. You have Mindy Lubber, the CEO and president of Ceres, which is a sustainability-focused nonprofit advocacy organization. Dan Bienvenu, the interim chief investment officer at CalPERS, which is the California Public Employees Retirement System, an agency that manages pension and health benefits for more than 1.5 million California public employees. And Natasha Lamb, managing partner and chief investment officer at Arjuna Capital, which is just an investment firm that allows you to divest from fossil fuels, invest in green climate solutions, and, just generally feel good about the investments that you're making for your own future and the future of the planet. And despite being vilified by Republicans earlier in the hearing, Swalwell brilliantly sets up the dominoes here by asking them these questions to ultimately knock them down and humiliate the other side.
And Mr. Bienvenu, are you fireable? Meaning if you don't make money, can the people you work for get rid of you?
Absolutely.
Ms. Lamb, are you fireable if you don't make money?
Absolutely.
And Ms. Lubber, if you're not providing advice that helps people make money, can they get rid of you?
Absolutely.
I don't understand why we're here, because you all, for the longest time, as long as I've been alive, and I'm the son of two Republicans, so I've heard this in my household a lot, you're the party of free markets. You believe that Democrats regulate too much, but you've hauled these three here to tell them you don't like how they're investing in the free market. You don't like how women make decisions about their bodies, and so you're banning abortions. You don't like how families make decisions to get pregnant, so you're banning IVF. And now you don't like when businesses invest in climate projects. And by the way, it's a little bit ironic because you have done nothing, as long as I've been in Congress, to mitigate against climate chaos. You've contributed by doing nothing to make the risks higher. These folks go out and, in their own investments, mitigate against the risk, make money for the people who work for them, and now you're saying they shouldn't do that.
Make it make sense. Sorry, I know that's a huge ask when it comes to Republicans, but it's utter insanity. And he lays out all the points so well. I mean, you have the rule of law party supporting a convicted felon. You have the deregulation people trying to regulate people's wombs. And then the free market capitalist bootlickers are trying to interfere in the free market because they don't like the fact that these people are investing in green energy or that they believe climate change. It's like just when you think the absurdity can't get any worse, they find a way to double down. But thankfully, people like Representative Swalwell here are around to expose these hearings for the shams that they are.
I want to talk a little bit about CalPERS because in the 2022-2023 year, CalPERS returned 6.1%. Is that about right?
That sounds about right.
Did you know that the largest pension fund in the state of Texas is the Teacher Retirement Fund of Texas?
I believe that's right.
Do you have any idea what they returned for their pensioners with an anti-ESG approach in their investing?
Candidly, I don't.
3.85%. So everything is bigger in Texas except the return on their pension fund because of their anti-ESG policies. Maybe they should be listening more to you and your strategies. I also want to just ask you, because I've heard all these allegations that you all make up a climate cartel. Who are the people in your fund, Mr. Bienvenu? Like, who are the pensioners? Where do they come from?
It's the hardworking firefighters, police officers, and public servants of the state of California.
What are some of the other jobs?
It's people that work at schools, not the teachers, but the people that work at the schools.
Janitors?
Janitors,
Okay.
corrections officers, people that work at the various state departments around the organization. And by the way, I'm a pensioner.
Right. So you and firefighters and police officers and janitors and hardworking correctional officers in California and Miss Lamb, who as a woman goes into essentially, the lion's den of a male-dominated finance industry, starts her own business, and you all make up a climate cartel that's going to take down the oil companies? Am I tracking that right for my colleagues? If anyone wants to jump in here?
Absolutely no response.
Their lack of jumping in, I think, reflects the absurdity of the allegation.
Bravo, Representative Swalwell. We should be damn proud to have someone like him representing us in Congress. Because it doesn't just stop at the absurdity of that cartel claim. The entire hearing was built on Republican BS anti-competitive absurdities, as Jerry Nadler explains.
Everything the American people need to know about today's hearing took place at a July 2022 meeting of the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, the corporate group that arranges meetings between Republican state legislators and lobbyists to push extreme right-wing policies in all 50 states. Their goal was to find evidence that the companies had violated the antitrust laws. The Republican majority in this committee answered the call and followed the exact same playbook in its own investigation of sustainable investment. 1, accuse businesses of antitrust violations. 2, subpoena them for as many documents as possible. And 3, desperately search for facts to support a predetermined conclusion. The majority has spent 18 months bullying more than a dozen parties over their investment practices. These include financial institutions, both large and small, nonprofits, and the public pension fund. They've received more than 2.5 million pages of documents and grilled witnesses for over 20 hours. And what has been the result? Not only does all this evidence fail to show an antitrust violation, it shows just how absurd the majority's theories are.